Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new video in programming the finite element method using MATLAB. In this video, we are going to continue where we stopped, which is basically about STR releases. Now, before I start, I want to mention that I once again switched a little bit in my GUI. I realized that this white GUI might cause some eye strain for you, so I had to update my MATLAB to the latest version and apply the dark theme. It is available for the newest version of MATLAB 2024, so I updated and applied the dark theme. I hope that this switch is rather welcoming for you, because if you see any programmer, you know that we kind of love the dark theme. And even I, when I program on C#, I use the dark theme, so I hope that this comes as a pleasant surprise for you. Now, the last time we programmed, we actually reached the STR releases, and we programmed what an STR release is. And then in the main, we tried it, and we were able to call ourselves the STR release, construct it, and report it. However, that's not how we do things. We want the controller to deal with everything, because I'm following the MVC programming paradigm, which is model, view, and controller. And I want everything to be accessed by the controller because it keeps track of IDs and whatnot. So in today's video, we are going to let the controller deal with most of the releases. So with that being said, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Alright, now this way of defining releases is something I don't want to do. I want the controller to deal with it. So now I need a release region, because I kind of like to subdivide my file in different regions for readability. So I'll call this the release region. So everything that comes here is going to be part of the releases. Now here I'm going to define me a function that gives me back a release, which is add str release. Now here I'm going to define multiple functions to ease it for the user. I'm going first of all to define the generalistic function in which the user must give me everything. And to do that, I can actually go to str releases, go to the constructor, and copy everything with an exception to the ID. So I'm copying everything with exception to the ID, but of course here I must pass the object first, and then everything with exception to the ID. Now, why don't I want the ID to be inputted by the user? Because the controller is supposed to keep tabs or keep track of the IDs of the releases. This means now that in the properties, I need to keep track of the str release ID. So I need a field for that or a property for that. This is going to be 0. And I also want a list of all str releases that have been defined. Now, since I have this, now I can ask the controller to basically produce an ID by saying, first of all, object.strReleaseID. So this equals object.strReleaseID plus 1. And remember, plus doesn't work. Oh, wait, let me try. Maybe the new version does work. So let me just try something. Plus. Nah, it doesn't understand it, I guess. Or does it? Let me try something. X equals 1, and then x plus plus. No, it doesn't understand it. Okay, so that's a no-go. Fine. I will do it the old-fashioned way by doing it like this. Now here the ID is going to equal object.releaseID or strReleaseID, SRI. No, it doesn't work like this. strReleaseID. Those are habits from Visual Studio. I have the ID. Now I need to produce the new release and pass it back to the user. So to produce the new release, I need to call the constructor. My release that I will pass back to the user is going to be the constructor strRelease, and I'm going to pass in the name, the ID, and all those parameters into the constructor. Let's just copy this very quickly and paste it here and put a semicolon here. And now, of course, I need to save it. So my object.strReleases database is going to equal the old database object.strReleases, added to it the new release that I just defined. Okay, fantastic. This is how we define the str releases. So we can put it to the test. However, before I put it to the test, I want to consider it in the reporting system. So here in the reporting system, I am going to copy this entire thing and paste it. It doesn't work like this. Okay, fine. Let's try again. I'll copy this entire thing here and paste it. And I will call this releases. And here I'm gonna cycle through the str releases, and I'm gonna pick out the str release and report it. So target release, and we're gonna basically report that. Fantastic. So now the releases are part of the reporting system. Let's test that. Let's put it to the test. So here, instead of defining the str release ourselves, I'm gonna ask the controller to add an str release, give them everything except the ID. And now, instead of toString, I don't need the release to be reported. By the way, I'm in the main file. I want the controller to report the str release. So let's try that out. To try that out, I'm going to run. So I'll push the F5 button, or I can go to editor and basically push this play button. So let's go to the editor. You can push the run button here, or you can just push F5. And if you push F5, it will run, and it is giving me the releases. That's fantastic. I also want to help the user by giving him some easy to use releases, like something ready. So I will make a function here, give back a release, and this is going to be add str release fix pin or rigid pin. Rigid pinned. Okay? So this is, of course, going to be the object, and that's it. Oh, and the name. Yeah, because the user is going to give it a name. Now, what do I mean by rigid pinned? I mean by release rigid pinned, a release that is rigid at the beginning, so there is no release, and pinned at the end. This is one of those typical things we can use. So now I can copy everything like this, but I need to change some stuff. Now, first of all, this has not been passed through the parameters of the function because I want to help the user. So I need to use the stuff. So I need to fill in those things for the user. So let's think. It is rigid in the beginning and pinned in the end. So in the beginning, I have rigid stuff, meaning I need to call the str release and go for ku rigid for the start, for the x movement, for the y movement, for the z movement. Let me put two dots here and go enter down. And for the rotation, I need to go str release and go for the kr rigid, because that's a rotation. I might have different values for those. For all those in the beginning, because in the beginning, I have something called rigid. Now in the end, I have pinned. Pinned means that the movement is not allowed, but the rotation is allowed. So I copy this and paste it for the three movement options, which are the ku options. Those are the movement stiffnesses. I will give them a rigid because it's pinned. And then for the rotation option, I will give it a free stiffness. So str release dot kr free. There we go. This should be a rigid pin release. So you see, we can help the user by, and this is the mission or objective of the controller. Instead of the user giving all those values, he can just ask for a rigid pinned release to be applied, and it will define it for him. The only thing he has to do is to give a name. Now let's do the same thing for pinned rigid and pinned pinned, because I also want the vice versa to happen. Now I am not like Robot here. Robot start and end depends on how you click on bars. Or Robot is actually a finite element software, structural analysis. I'm not that advanced because it's MATLAB, so I need to do it by hand. So pinned released and released pinned. Oh wait, I miswrote. I think it should be pinned rigid. Yeah, there we go. Pinned and rigid. Which means now I need to flip things. By flipping, I mean the start should have the rigid free, and the end should have the rigids everywhere. I can just copy the free and paste it for the three rotations for the start. And then for the three rotations of the end, because now it is rigid, I can basically use the kr rigid for the three last ones. So this should be the pinned rigid. Pinned because the three rotations in the beginning are free, and rigid because the three rotations at the end are rigid. Now I will copy this and paste it again because I want to give a double pin. So str release pin pin. So now the start and the end are pinned, meaning that the end stiffness is going to be free as well as the start stiffness. So I think this is a job well done, basically. I save that, go to the main now to try it out. So this is, of course, my release 1. Then here, I'm going to go for release 2 and ask the controller to add an str release, but not anyone, pinned rigid to try, I'm going to say here pin rigid 2, and also release 3 equals the controller.add str release, let's see, rigid pin. Then we're going to call this rigid pin. And finally, release 4 is going to be the controller.add str release pinned. And this is going to be pin. So let's save this one and run to see if everything worked just fine. Let's take a look on the releases. I have the pin rigid, which is exactly as I want. Now I have the pin rigid 2, which has been automatically defined by the controller, and the rigid pin and the pin. So yeah, I think we've done a great job so far. The controller now has the ability to define releases and even aids the user in defining user-defined or typical releases instead of the user applying all those values himself. Now, of course, as per usual, the source code for those videos are available for my dear channel members, but if you're not a channel member, then don't worry, because I'm not hiding any of this code. You can actually write along with me and you would land at the same code that I have. So yeah, that's everything I wanted to talk about today. I hope you enjoyed. And in the end, I want to give an improved release size shout out to my dear channel members in the contributor level and the helper level whose names are going to be shown on the screen. I want to thank them from the bottom of my heart, as their support of the channel is priceless to me and enables me to provide you with videos hopefully on time and with a certain quality I try to achieve, and for that I am forever thankful. In the end, I hope that you enjoyed the video and you found it beneficial. If you have enjoyed the video, then please consider liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting, and so on, especially subscribing because it helps increase the reach of my channel. As per usual, this is the Civil Engineering Essentials channel, and we'll catch you in the next video. Bye bye.